Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Vicky 3. This is episode 7, and just at the end of our last episode, our protectorate, France, decided that they were going to subjugate us. So we are now the subject of France. We had no support well, no valuable support. We had a couple fellow African nations that were, utterly useless to the cause that were willing to step up. Now, one thing we also did do last episode, though, was we did conquer Dahomey finally. So we do have control of Dahomey, but we are still nearly 3 years away from incorporating it, and it is still pretty high on turmoil. We are just over 10% down from where it was following the war. So we've got that to deal with, but also we have a new problem, a pretty big problem that we are going to have to deal with, and that is having to do with our budget. We had a nice, very healthy budget, and then after the war, you can see from here that we have Dahomey's not really bringing in much right now, and that's the lack of incorporation. That is the high turmoil. That combination means they're both costly but not very economically useful. But I have a feeling the main reason why we suddenly have significantly less in terms of our balance sheet is that, diplomatic pacts. There it is right there. And this is France. So as our overlord, we are paying them 2,000 roughly per month, and that is that entire flip of where we were to where we are. Military wages seems like a really good way to bring that down a bit. There's 100 right there. Military is not going to be terribly happy for that one, but I think with consumption taxes we can probably just about cover the rest. Actually, quite easily could cover the rest. What to go after? Liquor. There you go. All right, so we have it covered. We don't want to stay like that for too long with the military, as we certainly don't want to make them angry. But that does take care of our issue with that one. And now, as a subject of France, the next stage is them incorporating us, absorbing us. How long that's going to take? I don't know. 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. Usually there's a kind of a set period of time, and I'm going to see if I can find out how long we have until the likely inevitable. By the way, with the steady increase of standard of living, now approaching 12, with that increase we are finally starting to see a population. It's not booming, but it's growing. It's not shrinking any longer. It is still shrinking, and that again has to do with the very, very low level of standard of living. Now at an 8 Ashanti Volta, we just had what amounts to only our second use of arable land. So just getting started with that millet farm. I would love to get a logging camp, but that's not a possibility. Wondering if we want to get something else going, like a tobacco plantation that could do very well there. But let's kind of wait until that actually starts employing a decent amount of people before we bother to do any more. But it's a small place. It's a small place and not doing terribly well. But turmoil now falling below 50%, and we're past 50% on the incorporation stage. Turns out that even though we are a subject, we do still have the opportunity to grow, to expand. Sokoto likely would join Demagram if we were to attack them, so that's important to know here. Attacking Sokoto directly might be more useful, except that Russia would side with them. So right now it looks like there's no viable diplomatic options. but maybe making friends with Sokoto would keep them out of something with Damagram. And with a power projection of just 15, Damagram would be a very easy target for us. They have a decent GDP, they have a decent population, they are very literate, surprisingly. That'd be a good expansion target. Now, what do they have? Just some basics. Not much, but expansion is expansion for us, essentially. But what we need to do is we need to work on our relations with Sokoto. By the way, things have played out very differently this game than the previous one, where Darfur, you can see they are still very much the same nation they started as. They have not grown or expanded at all. But it's not Great Britain. Great Britain did make some gains into this territory, but it's France. France is the major player in Africa this time around, that and the United States. Right, the United States made some pretty solid gains, but nobody else has really. I'm going to go ahead and add a tax on clothes, as our balance had gotten negative again. Also, by doing so, we can get the military wages back to normal. I really don't need to be offending the military, so that gets everything back to a standard level. So honestly, I don't know what this is actually going to do for us, because it doesn't really give you proper information. It tells you what labor you need, etc., etc. But as we are on the French market, I think the goods we need are ultimately there. So we're going to go ahead and make our first tooling workshop, and start producing more. Might as well, right? Sokoto nearly likes us. We should be at cordial. Once we get to 20, it's at 18 right now. And now with that 21, Damagram could be a target. However, I am not about to take on another nation where we have not incorporated Dahomey and where we still have 50% turmoil. I'm going to wait until they are fully incorporated and they like us a little bit more, as we definitely don't need to be dealing with any sort of rebellion on our hands. Also, as previously noted, the moment you make a diplomatic play, you're taking a -5 anyway, so we needed that 25 plus that we've already now hit. We're going to continue to push that on. The more that Sokoto likes us, the more likely they are to stay out of it and give us that opportunity to attack Damagram, without facing consequences from others. Less than a year now until it's incorporated, though. By the way, we are approaching 30% in literacy. We only have that one university. Expanding to another would be nice, but it certainly comes with a cost that we don't have a huge economy necessarily to support such a thing. Approaching 2 million people. We're at nearly 3.5 million for the GDP, but we still have a lot of radicals, and almost all of that is Dahomey. Inside a month until incorporation is done of Dahomey, we'll see what this does for other things as it happens. Does it boost our economy? It's now fully incorporated. Does the turmoil go down, or does it stay as is? We'll find out what was the effect of incorporation. Landowners' political strength, colonial growth generation, state penalties from turmoil go down at least. So that decreases by 20% the penalty here. Our balance definitely got a lot better once it's been incorporated. Making a decent amount of money right now. And that turmoil seems to be decreasing now that it's incorporated. It's not rapid by any stretch of the imagination, but it is clear that now that Dahomey is incorporated, the number of radicals there, the reason to be radicalized, the anger over the war, incorporation into the state, it's fading. It is fading. So the radicals are dropping off. I do not want to aggressively get after another nation while it's still high. but you can see that it's dropping off at a faster and faster rate right now. So this is very good. This is very good for us, because if we do get them settled into the nation, then we can think about that expansion again. So our new tooling workshop, it's just about fully employed. It's slowly building cash reserves. It's not doing great, but it's working out. It's using wood. Okay, that means I probably need to expand our lumber industry a little bit. But again, we are, kind of playing in the French market, not just our own. But it is producing 30 tools. It is also adding urbanization to the state. That's certainly a good thing. I don't think we're a match for our European brethren, but I'm thinking about just seeing where it goes, what it takes us, how costly it is ultimately to start trying to upgrade the military that we have, at least a little bit. Advancing to line infantry would literally double the strength of our military for now. What it would cost us is small arms. We would need 20 in total to make that happen, and that is essentially one per battalion. Artillery support is also something that's a possibility for us, but we'd have to start producing artillery as well. Cannon would cost 10. Mobile artillery would cost 20, and both would come with some big advances to the battalions that we have. So there are some options out there. Our weekly balance is already a fairly big negative. I would imagine it's going to go up quite a bit. But let's see what producing small arms could be. I mean, we do have a growing economy. We are throwing things like an arts academy that's not at least hurting us much. It's not helping us much, but it's something. The literacy is now at 33%. We're a third of the way to our population being literate. It was under 10 when we started, I believe, and that standard of living is slowly climbing. It's still only a 12, and we've got to just kind of keep doing things. It's the urban buildings that are really the key to all this. A steel mill feels like it would be nice, but we don't have anything for that. And there is that arms industry, so I'm tempted. We did the tooling workshop, and it's working out. I'm going to get the arms industry on the go. It's going to take a long time. I mean, that's nearly 4 years before that's going to be ready to go. It consumes hardwood and iron. We do not have that right now, but we can make the hardwood at least, and the iron's going to have to come from somewhere else in that French market. With the smaller logging camp in Sakota, I bet you we could start making, that would consume tools, which, hello, we're making tools, but what is that output for the sawmills? That should be the hardwood, right? No, here it is, hardwood production. So we would lessen the wood production and hardwood would come out as a result. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. We're going to start producing the hardwood in Sakota, and then we're going to increase our logging camps here as a result to make up for that one. So we'll add that one into the queue. And that'll make up for that one lost logging camp, and this one as a smaller one. We're still getting wood on the market, but now we're adding hardwood as well. And productivity actually did go up as a result. Checking in on that slow but steady decline in Dahomey of the turmoil. It's down to 43%. But it does fluctuate, but ultimately it's that slow drop. Down about 7% since incorporation 5 years ago now. And again, the radicals still decreasing, but it's so gradual. It's just barely. And there's definitely some negatives on the government. Let's check in there. One thing I'm now keeping my eye on is if we are able to take Damagaram. Air is open for colonization above that. The U.S. has been on that border for a long time, as they are on the other two to the north. and haven't bothered. So I think air would be open to colonization by us, for our own purpose. So there's a secondary reason to get after Damagaram. And then, of course, we can turn our attention to the east, not necessarily to Sokoto next, as Sokoto is pretty big as far as African. I think they're the biggest, most powerful African nation. And, if we're doubling our strength, we'll get up there eventually, but I don't think conquering Sokoto in the short term is necessarily a good thing. And I have a feeling that France might try to integrate us before we ever get that opportunity. But Damagaram, that could be a possibility. Just waiting for those radicals to come down at least a bit further. Now, I wish I knew the answer to why we still have so many radicals, why there's still so much unrest in Dahomey. Right? For me, that's still a bit of a mystery. Other than, the obvious. Is it simply just going to go away in time, or is there another underlying issue, such as, culturally they don't fit the wider area? Now that's a thought. In Ghana, our capital, we are Akan, 89% Akan, 71% in Togo. But then Dahomey, it's under 3%. So they are slowly assimilating. There's a lot of fawn there. Now, the fawn might have a high population in Togo, but that doesn't mean much. I don't know if that means much. I don't know what that means at all. So I'm going to try something and just see if it pans out. Right now, we have a lot of radicals. We know that most of it is there. We know that we have a high number of radicals here as well. And, look, same sort of thing. There's a lot of Mossi people, because that was the Mossi territory where we colonized. And Akan is only 6,000. It's only 11%. So is that why there's a high number of radicals there as well? Disproportionate, to the population. So what we're going to try is promote national values, which is assimilation and conversion. Assimilation being the key one on this one. Assimilate cultures versus convert religion. We'll see what that does for us. Does that bring things down, more quickly? Akan is increasing right now. And France has just subjugated Congo as well. So Congo has been subjugated. The arms industry has been initiated, just getting started on it though, so we'll see. Employment is still rather low. Weekly balance is not a huge negative, at least, and it is just beginning to produce arms. Now, iron's the tricky one, but fortunately it's not at a heavy cost. If we're producing hardwood, that's contributing, right? It can happen locally, even though it's all technically within the market. With a round of hiring, things are starting to look up a little bit for this arms industry. It's not really booming or anything, but the balance is about neutral, and it is producing nearly enough to start seeing line infantry be a thing. One of the initial industries that we haven't gotten into at all yet is glassworks. I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot and see what happens with that. But long term, I think we're going to need to use up some more of our arable land. So let's go ahead and get like a banana plantation on the go. We can get, what else is maxed out? Coffee plantation. Coffee seems to be doing really well in our part of the market. Makes perfect sense, especially with that introduction to the French market, right? Down to 312 on the radicals. I don't know how much further I would really like to push this before I see us try to go and expand yet again, but it seems to be dropping a bit more rapidly, so possibly our efforts are paying off. Turmoil's down to 36%, where it was not declining much at all before, but what is happening with that population? Akan up to 3%, it's grown by a full percent already. Well. Look what happens when you open other screens that you haven't looked at. anytime recently. Primary culture, Akin, we figured that out. State religion is animist. We know that. But here's the thing about the cultures. Turmoil! So we have a distribution of turmoil, and you see the Akin don't have it. The Fawn, yeah, they have some. Mossy definitely aren't an issue. The Yoruba are. The Fulbe, the Songhai, those are the ones you gotta watch out for. The Sunni in general. So the conversion away from Sunni is definitely a good thing, and we're seeing better things. Right? There's the political strength side of it. There's the population side of it. But that's helping. I think the Fawn is a group you might want to target. There's a lot of them, and there's a bit of turmoil there. And of course, here is that group. Here is the Fawn in Dahomey. That's the majority group, the 79%. The Yoruba is in between these two states, and they're also fairly high in terms of the turmoil with them. So converting to Akin is absolutely a good thing for us to try to lower the turmoil. But again, why is that turmoil there? Why are they so negative? Well, that could still be tied to the fact that we conquered them, 10 years ago. Now, what ultimately did us in on the last playthrough was the railway. However, it was because the economy was too small to handle the railway. We didn't have the population base to employ it. We definitely didn't have the finances to afford it, and what it did for us was very minor. Now we're in the French market, so we have access to everything being fully employed and gainful, and we have some spare funds. Be careful on implementing it, but we are way over on infrastructure in particular. We're already plus 10 in Dahomey, and I've done 0 expansion of the market there as a result, knowing how it's over, knowing that the turmoil is also high and costing us. So Dahomey has been more and more profitable simply by seeing the turmoil drop from the initial 63% to now 34%. That 30% decrease, the incorporation of it has seen it boost and help the economy, but otherwise I haven't touched it. We're going to touch it now by adding a railroad here, because that minus 10 on infrastructure is impacting the French market, the access there. It's impacting a lot of the economic value of Dahomey. So I feel like, yes, we are playing with fire by adding railway. It's going to come with an expense, but plus 20 infrastructure. So it's going to instantly take a negative 10 and turn it into a plus 10, which would allow us to then, get back and get active with the market here in Dahomey, add things as necessary. Big step forward. Barracks, for instance, just a 3-year. The port, having some convoys. Not that we are out of isolationism at this point, but it would be nice to get there. We could have a naval base. We could actually have a navy. But let's get that railway. It's on the end of a list of quite a few items that are already queued up. I'll leave it at the end of the queue. It's going to take a little while till that one happens. 295 and falling, so the radicals are decreasing with an overall population on the verge of 2 million. Our annual pop growth is getting better and better and better. It's still small. It is still small, but it is getting better and better as we are raising that standard of living, as we improve that literacy, as we have less turmoil. Big combination of factors for sure. And the glassworks is done. Productivity already is showing up decently. It's just wood to make the glass. Okay, suppose that's the fires. And employment is picking up. It's already starting to turn positive for the balance, so it looks like that's a good industry to add in. And in just a few short weeks, it is approaching full employment, decent, strong productivity, with a nice positive balance. So good. Okay, that's another industry that is working out as intended. And a new good has appeared in Ghana: rubber plantations. We now have the opportunity for rubber plantations. We do not have it unlocked yet. We have to get rubber mastication. So we are going to target that one very, very soon in the tech. In fact, we might even switch towards working in that direction right now. Let's see, where is that rubber mastication? Oh, we're actually on... No, we're not on track for that one. We need chemical bleaching and fractional distillation and crystal glass along the way. So those are the ones we're going to need to get. So let's go ahead and switch to those, as adding rubber in will be good. Hello. We have action going on next to us. And I believe this was a French protectorate. Yeah, it is in the French market. But that is Great Britain versus Benin. So looks like they are conquering some territory, but going through Oyo, who I'm assuming came to their aid. And that Western colonization is getting bigger and bigger. France now up against Darfur. Hey, look at that. Our turmoil. Oh, no. It's still there. It is decreasing, though. Under a third now. Somehow back up over 300,000, though. It's increasing right now. And our population has hit 2 million. Ding, ding, ding. Big landmark. That short little spike seems to have faded, and the turmoil is decreasing once again. We're back down to 286,000. Declining. And our third of 3 straight upgrades here, we're done. So we have added, of course, that new glassworks, which is doing just fine. It's off to a good start. And then we added in another coffee plantation, as well as free game. I'm slightly worried about the fact that we still have a decent amount of turmoil, but only slightly. And at the moment, it's Damagaram with no support. That doesn't mean that others can't join in, but we are cordial with most of them. Spain is now showing up as a possible enemy, but okay, so far leaning our way is both France and Denmark, so that is a very good thing, and no one is leaning their direction at this stage, so there's a very good chance we're now into that back down phase. Now, of course, they have no reason to... Russia has sided with them, so we're going to back down. So Russia has sided with the enemy, and I think that means our clue in on what to do here is to go visit these guys and begin improving relations. Looks like it is very possible to get the relations where they need to get to get Russia to stay out of it. Oh boy, our diplomatic pact just got a lot more expensive. 5,000 now. We're making better money, so France is charging more. So it would seem. Livestock ranch finishing up. Then another coffee plantation on the way. Like I believe I initially queued up 2 and 2 of expanded agricultural areas. So I do believe that our railroad will be the next one on the queue, but our economy is not looking as strong as it once was now that France has suddenly decided our economy is growing. I mean, our gold reserves are up over 1 million now. Turmoil down to 30%, 30% declining. Akin is up to 3.8%, so that's grown by 2% since we started this process. The animist group has also grown slightly, so there's fewer Sunni there within that region, and it seems to all be boosting what we're targeting, what we're aiming for, which is seeing that decline in radicalism. Speaking of radicalism, though, it's not entirely down to that. The rural folk aren't terribly happy right now. The devout definitely aren't happy. Well, they're happy, but the intelligentsia, there's a lot that they would like to see done, but they're too small. They don't have enough clout. So the conversion efforts, continue to help the situation here in Dahomey, as we're up over 4% that are acting now. But the fawn are still the major, to my knowledge, are still pretty unhappy. Yeah, at 23%. That hasn't really changed much at all. What we are seeing though is the Fulbei and the Songhai are not as angry as they used to be. So there is a sign that it's getting better, that the turmoil is decreasing gradually anyway. But trying to get to that rubber mastication. So got a couple steps to go here. And in the meantime, we are getting very close to our railway. It's a game changer. We already know it's a game changer. It was a game changer to the extent of destroying us last time. We know more about it this time. It's going to be easier to handle. Let's get a check-in before that is done on how things are going in the world. New South Wales in total control, and that is Great Britain there. So New South Wales in control of Australia, but not fully. The British Raj is definitely not in total control of India at this stage. Great Qing Heavenly Kingdom still in existence. An empire is still looking pretty standard. Prussia is no North German alliance, but it's still very much in control. Great Britain fully unified. Status has not changed in the U.S. recently. They very much are not in full control here. But Canada fully united, looking strong. Russia still has Alaska. Brazil, Argentina looking strong, though Chile has long since claimed part of what would be Argentina otherwise. Dutch East Indies far from uniting what would be the Dutch East Indies. Spanish Philippines still as is. Africa is the only one that's really looking out of place. Major French dominance. No Italian influence, speaking of. Italy is mostly united. Major Western Africa influenced by the U.S., but that has not changed in decades now. We still have controlled territory, but an unfinished business situation here. And it's done. It is done. We have a railway. We have a railway. It is currently being subsidized, so we're going to have to watch out for that one and what that does. Cost, not that bad. We still have a positive balance at the moment. Employment is increasing. Okay, folks, I think this is our stopping point because this was our downfall last time. We're going to have to watch it closely. We're going to have to monitor what it does for us. Does it help us? Is it too much? Is our economy big enough to handle the introduction of the railway? And then obviously I would love to see it expand into our other territories as well, because we are exceeding our infrastructure there. Not as bad as we were in Dahomey, but definitely exceeding. And does getting our infrastructure boost, which is already, as we're just getting started, a +8. So it's already just about negated that -10 that we had. It's down to a -2. And, with an ever decreasing turmoil down to 27% now, is getting the infrastructure neutral and above, is that going to help decrease the turmoil? The impacts, I'm curious to see what is that larger impact. Meanwhile, Russia, we're up to a 7 on the relations there. We want to get that up to that 25 plus to get them to stay out, so that we can continue to grow and expand, right? It's nice to still exist in the world. France has not absorbed us as of yet. We know that time will come at some point as a French subject. In the meantime, I'm sure they would be happy to have us expand our territory and expand their foothold into Africa. I'm Decathlon Gamer. That's going to do it for this episode. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.